Could the Astros actually trade Kyle Tucker this offseason? I think it could happen. We got an article here from The Athletic. It goes on to say the Astros are receiving trade inquiries about outfielder Kyle Tucker. Multiple people familiar with the discussions told The Athletic on Monday night, potentially precipitating a bidding war for one of baseball's best young players. General Manager Dana Brown did not answer directly whether he has received calls from other teams, but revealed that we'll listen on anybody as the club confronts a crossroads. Well, what do they mean by crossroads? Well, we know the Astros, they've been in a competitive window for a long time now, but you could maybe argue that they're starting to get to the tail end of that competitive window. Yes, they still have talent at the major league roster, but when you take a look at farm system rankings across the major outlets like Baseball America, they don't rank particularly well. At some point, they're going to have to bring in some young talent, whether it's prospects or young club-controlled major league talent, to keep them, in this competitive window for longer. At some point, they're going to have to add some young talent. Someone like Kyle Tucker, who's very good, will definitely bring in some good talent. Now, he is going to be a free agent after this season. He is coming off a season in which he had a lot of injuries, but take a look at the numbers here. This guy, 78 games this year, he put up a 4.2 wins above replacement, a 4.2 in half a season. Just to compare, Juan Soto finished with an 8 wins above replacement this past year. Kyle Tucker was on pace for that. He is very good. When you take a look at the numbers, you can maybe see some similarities to Juan Soto. I would say he's like a Juan Soto light when you look at the numbers. This past year, in the 78 games he played, hit 289 with a 408 on base, a 585 on the slugging, a 180 WRC plus, 23 homers. He was on pace for more than 40 home runs. Over the last 4 seasons, if we take a look here at the numbers, he's had a 19 wins above replacement. That's almost at an average of 5 wins above replacement per season. Kyle Tucker, I think, is extremely underrated. I think people know that he's a good player, but I don't think they realize how good he is. When it comes to his trade value, let's take a look here. They're looking at right around $31.5 million. Now, how are they getting that number? So taking a look at his remaining field value here, they're looking at $47 million. That's right around a 5.5 wins above replacement. Then when you factor in his salary for this coming year, it's going to be right around $16 million. You get a trade value of right around 31.5 on the median value. Now, it could definitely go higher than that, especially if bidding gets intense. So Kyle Tucker, I think he's going to get back a good amount here. A good trade comparison I would look at would be Juan Soto from the Padres to the Yankees last year. I think that's going to be a pretty similar trade. I think you could also look at Mookie Betts to the Dodgers a few years back when the Red Sox got Alex Verdugo, Connor Wong, and Jeter Downs back in the deal. For Juan Soto, Michael King was the main piece. You got Drew Thorpe back in that deal as well. I think you're going to see a similar trade. I think the Astros would want to get back a young, cost-controlled, major league-ready player. Especially with the Astros wanting to stay competitive, I think they would want to get someone that can help them at the major league level. But I think they would also want to get some prospects along with that. So with that said, I'm going to go through some trade scenarios here with a few different teams who I think would be the best fit for Kyle Tucker. So let's get to it. Let's start off with the San Diego Padres. I'm going to start off with teams that I think would be the least likely landing spot, and we'll go to the most likely landing spot. Now, for the Padres, they definitely have a need here. They could use someone out in left field. You got Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill. Kyle Tucker could definitely slide in out there. That would be a nice bat to replace Jerickson Profar for a year. And when you think about A.J. Preller, he's always very aggressive on the trade front. And with the Padres firmly in a competitive window, I could see A.J. Preller possibly getting aggressive and looking to make a move to boost the offense. Now, when it comes to the Padres as a trade partner, I'm not so sure if they're going to be the best fit, if they're going to have the prospects to be able to get it done. But we've seen A.J. Preller in the past work his magic. Maybe he could pull something off here. So the trade that I have, Kyle Tucker going to the Padres, maybe you could send back Jake Cronenworth. That could be a guy that could help out the Astros for the next several years. He's on a pretty team-friendly deal. Got Matt Waldron in this deal. Knuckleballer, he could be a guy in the rotation rotation for the Astros for the next several years. And a couple of pitching prospects, Henry Baez and Isaiah Lowe. These guys have been putting up some pretty good numbers. But in the end, though, I think the Padres, they're just not really going to have enough to be able to put together a great package. I think Jake Cronenworth is a little weak of a return. Maybe they could eat some of the money, but I don't know if they would want to do that. Matt Waldron, sure, a nice back end of the rotation starter to get back. But again, is that really someone that you would want to get back for Kyle Tucker? So really, when it comes to the package that the Astros would get back here, I don't like it very much. But I always wonder about the Padres and Preller. He's always aggressive. He always wants to pull off trades. So maybe he could work his magic here. Let's move on to another team that's probably unlikely, but I could see the fit, the Blue Jays. Now, you could maybe look at 2025 being the last chance for the Blue Jays to try and do something because they got a couple of key guys coming up on free agency. Vlad Jr., if you're unable to sign him to an extension, is going to be a highly sought-after free agent next offseason. Bo Bichette, I know he just had a down year, but has a good track record. He's going to be coming up on free agency. Kevin Gausman is going to be a free agent in a couple of years. So I could see the Blue Jays maybe trying to go for something here, like a last gasp kind of an attempt, and they're having a hard time luring free agents there, so maybe they can go to the trade market to land an impact player. I think Kyle Tucker would be an amazing fit in this lineup. Vlad Jr., Kyle Tucker in the middle of the order, that would be great. Now, when it comes to the Blue Jays, though, I don't know if they're going to be a good trade partner because I don't know if they have the assets to get it done, but here's one that I put together. Now, you could maybe do a deal around Aurelvis Martinez. This guy was a higher-ranked prospect at one point. He got called up this year. People were excited about it. And then the guy got suspended for testing positive for PEDs. So I don't know. But Aurelvis Martinez, when you looked at what he did in the minor leagues, this is a guy that could definitely be an impact player. We'll just have to wait and see on that. So maybe you could do a deal around him, maybe throw in a couple of other guys, Alan Roden, Addison Barger. These are a couple of guys that they rank pretty well. Alan Roden, he's number 12 as of right now. When it comes to Addison Barger, he was ranked pretty high at one point, number 6 back in 2023. Maybe they could throw in another piece here, but in the end, I don't know if this is going to be enough for the Blue Jays to get a deal done. How about the Chicago Cubs? Well, for the Cubs, I don't think they're the greatest fit, at least as of right now. They need to have some things happen for this to work, especially Cody Bellinger. He's been on the trade block so far this offseason, so if you could move Bellinger, bring in Kyle Tucker, that would definitely be an upgrade. Cody Bellinger had a bit of a down year this year. If they're unable to move Cody Bellinger, maybe they can move Seiya Suzuki somewhere, and who knows, maybe you could even sign Kyle Tucker to an extension. We'll just have to wait and see on that. The Cubs definitely have the money to get it done, but again, you're going to have to make some things work for this to happen. And when it comes to the Cubs as a trade partner, I don't know if they are the best trade partner. They have talent that they could send back. I just don't know if they have talent that they would be willing to send back. So a couple of ideas here, and again, bear with me, I don't think this is the best trade proposal out there. Now, you could maybe center a package around a couple of different guys. Maybe you could send back someone like Isaac Paredes, who they did just trade for at the trade deadline. If the Astros were not to bring back Alex Bregman, this could be a replacement at third base for the next few years, possibly. If not Isaac Paredes, maybe you could center a package around Javier Assad, had a pretty decent year in the rotation this year. You would definitely have to put more with him. You would have to put some prospects there. But, when it comes to, guys that are getting pretty close to the major league level, Matt Shaw, I don't think the Cubs would part with Matt Shaw for 1 year of Kyle Tucker. I don't see that. They got some pretty good position player prospects like Owen Casey. You got Moises Ballesteros, James Triantos. But, getting back to the point that I made earlier, I think the Astros would want major league ready talent. So, maybe you could do something with Isaac Paredes here. But again, for the Cubs, there's a lot of things that would have to work out, that would have to come into play for this to happen. But I think it would be a pretty fun fit. Now, I came up with a few other ideas. Maybe you could do something with Cody Bellinger. Now, you would have to throw in some cash along with him. His numbers did take a bit of a dip this past year, and he is making a good amount of money. Maybe attach a prospect or two along with him, and maybe you could get a deal done. I don't see that one happening, though. Maybe you could do Seiya Suzuki. Same thing. He is making a decent amount of money over the next couple of years, but this is a guy that could definitely give you some offense in the lineup. He can go out in the outfield as well. Maybe throw in a prospect or two with him. Maybe even some cash. Maybe you could see something there. Same thing with Ian Happ, right? He's got a couple more years left on that contract. Either way, maybe they could get creative here and they can get something done. How about the Philadelphia Phillies? Now, I would love this fit personally, but a couple of things things need to happen for it to work. First off, you got to figure out what happens with Nick Castellanos. Honestly, I think the Phillies would love to move on from Castellanos. He's not a good defender out in right field. He's really a DH at this point, and he's been on the trade block for a couple of years now. So if they were to figure out a way to move Castellanos, that would be a great fit. The Phillies, they're trying to revamp the team a little bit this offseason. Tucker would bring a nice boost to this lineup, and maybe you could work out an extension with him as well. And the Phillies, they do have a guy they could send back to the Astros who's also been on the trade block in Alec Bohm. Now, if the Astros were to not bring back Alex Bregman, Alec Bohm would be a nice replacement for a couple of years. Throw on a couple of prospects, someone like Gabriel Rincones, who had a pretty good year in the minor leagues this year. Seth Johnson, pretty decent pitching prospect as well. I could see the Phillies absolutely being a contender. Kind of reminds me of when they traded for Hunter Pence a little while back. And last but not least, how about the New York Yankees, the team that just lost Juan Soto? Could they make a similar trade in back-to-back off seasons? I mean, hey, losing Juan Soto absolutely stings, but if you could figure out a way to bring in Kyle Tucker, I mean, that's as good of a replacement as you could have. Kyle Tucker would absolutely slide right into this outfield. You would have an outfield of Aaron Judge, Jason Dominguez, Kyle Tucker, maybe Jazz Chisholm out there as well. I think Kyle Tucker would be a great fit for the Yankees. So the trade that I put together, maybe you could center a package around Clark Schmidt. The Yankees are looking into free agency right now to add some pitching. They're looking at Max Fried they've been tied to. If they could add one of those guys and maybe send back Clark Schmidt to the Astros, a guy that's under a lot of control, having or just came off a good year this past year with the Yankees, I think he would be a nice piece to send back to the Astros. Maybe throw in a couple other players here. Oswaldo Cabrera, you could have him for the Astros, be a guy that's under control. He can move all around the infield. I think he would be a nice fit for the Astros. Maybe you could either send back Everson Pereira, who did miss a lot of time this past year with injury, but this is a highly regarded outfield prospect that could be nice for the Astros to add back into their system. Maybe someone like Brock Selvage. Now, I think the Yankees, they could definitely get a deal done. You know, if not Clark Schmidt, I think it would be a little tough to do a package here. You know, could you do someone like Spencer Jones? Again, he's not major league ready. So maybe you could do someone like Spencer Jones and maybe a couple of lower tier major league ready guys. Like I said, with Oswaldo Cabrera, maybe you could do someone like Oswald Peraza, and then you could do Spencer Jones along with it. So I think the Yankees, they got some flexibility here to get a deal done. I think it would be crazy back-to-back off seasons, you know, getting two highly touted players, Juan Soto last year and Kyle Tucker this year. And maybe this time around, Kyle Tucker, he's not with Scott Boras. Maybe he would be more open to an extension, and the Yankees, you know, they couldn't get it done with Juan Soto. Maybe they could work out an extension with Kyle Tucker. But everyone, those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down below. Do you think Kyle Tucker actually gets traded this offseason? If he does get traded, where do you think he goes? Let me know your trades down below. If you can, don't bash my trades. Instead, give me your trade proposals. That's what I would like to see. So everyone, that's all I got for this video. If you can on the way out, hit that like button for me, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.